Now, if you didn't catch the last Offbeat Intros, it's an opportunity to look into a band or artist that you might not have known about. For this interview, I'm talking to a chap who is the leading man for a band that has supported the likes of Jar Shaka, Toots and the Maytals, Alton Ellis, Bob Andy, Maccabee, Palmer International, just to name a few. Steve is the leading man in Hassle, which has recently been thrust into the limelight, which we can talk about a little bit later on. Steve, hello, mate.
Hello, Andy. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. I must admit, I heard the track, which we will play a little bit later on, and I was suddenly incredibly interested. And then, funnily enough, on Twitter, we just connected. And I'm finding Twitter very useful, actually, for getting in touch with people.
Good. To be honest, I found it the complete opposite.
Have you now?
Yeah, I have totally.
Right, well, we'll move swiftly on then. I don't want to cause any more pain. For those people who aren't overly au fait as to who Hassle is, what Hassle is, where you've come from, can you tell us more about yourself, the band, and anything else that you feel is relevant?
Yeah. Well, we're from Newcastle upon Tyne in England, and I started the band in 2002. I was writing reggae songs and stuff at the time, and I'd been doing like sort of more modish music before that led into doing the reggae. I basically was writing these songs and I thought I need a band, so I was demoing the songs at home, and then I put an advert up. Or did I see an advert? Something like that. I can't even remember, mate.
Don't ask me, I wasn't there.
It was 2002. I put an ad up, or I responded to an ad. I think I responded to it, to be honest. I'm sure I did. I'm sure I saw it. Anyway, got together with these lads who were looking, they needed a singer to go with a reggae band, and I needed a band to go with me, so everyone was happy. So I worked with them for a few years, which was quality. They were really good musicians. Basically, how it's turned out is Hassle's mainly like a solo project, basically my songs and what have you. And then I work with different people around that. There's a couple of mainstays as well, though. My mate Tony is involved in it, and he's like a mainstay. Well, he plays guitar and stuff and helps co-produce everything with us and engineer it. I've got a big pool of musicians around Newcastle, friends and what have you, and I just call upon different people at different times. Depends on people's life schedules at the time, whether they're free or not, and all this sort of stuff. So basically it works like that. And then we did a lot of support gigs with some of the bands you mentioned, Toots and Maytel, Jar Shaka. We played with Toots and the Maytel 2 years in a row at Newcastle. Maccabee, Alton Ellis, Bob Andy, Paul.
Big names, isn't it?
Well, yeah, though, to be honest, and I'm always like really thrilled that that's happened, because these kind of names of people that, you know, when you're getting into music and you're getting into reggae, you hear these names and they sound like these mythical figures from a different world, you know, and from a different era, let's face it as well. So basically then to be in Newcastle playing with these people, it was quite surreal.
How did it come about? Was it that you were in the area and you're a band that was available, or they'd heard of you? What happened?
Well, basically, I don't know. We just people got in touch. People always got in touch. We never got in touch with them for them. We didn't like sort of. I mean, it's something I would do as well. I'm not ruling that out. If you see something, go for it. And any opportunity is to be taken. But people, they just got in touch with her and asked if we were available. And then it seemed that we were doing most of the gigs that were on around here. That was brilliant. You know, honestly, I just couldn't believe it. Stand backstage with all these guys. You know, because there wasn't too many Jamaicans in Newcastle back then, so it was like fantastic to see, speak and chat with them and hear them sing and perform and all that sort of stuff. It was like an education almost, you know what I mean, a musical education.
How was it performing to their fans? Like they're obviously there for them, you're supporting. That's Did right. You go down well?
Oh yeah, totally. I think like anything though, you know, if you're a fan of music and you go to see an artist, so say I go to see an artist that I like, and the sport band comes on, immediately they've got a bit of credence because of the band they're supporting. They've obviously like allowed this band to be supporting them, so they've got to be half decent. So I'd like to think you get a bit of that, but then some people are like really hard to impress and stand there. They start off with their like arms folded, staring at you, everything. But then gradually as it goes on, you win them over, hopefully. But no, I always found it a positive experience, to be honest. Like, yeah, it was really good. I mean, the Toots gigs at the O2, they were absolutely jumping, packed packed with Geordies, and it was fantastic. Really liked it. Although I've got to say, of all the people that I met, the most impressive guy was the smallest guy. You see, you've got to bear in mind as well, I'm 6'6", so I'm tall. The jazz shacker appeared to be about 5'2" or something, but yet was still the biggest man I met out of all of them. He had this like really big sort of aura about him. It's hard to explain, actually. I don't know whether it was because of his spirituality or what, but yeah, he was kind of like Yoda-like when I met him.
He had a presence. He had the force.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He did, but like I say, I'm 6'6", he's 5'2" or something. I'm guessing at that height. That's probably an exaggeration. He's probably 5'5" or something. But it was like, God, he's huge but small at the same time. It was great. Great learning experience, you know, to meet somebody like that who had this kind of like aura and sort of charisma without putting any effort into it as well.
Really now? Oh, lucky man. Right, I'll tell you what. Yeah. At this point, I think it's a good opportunity to actually get some of your tunes on, see if we can get people into Hassle. We've had enough chat for the moment, I think. What should we put on, do you think?
Could put the Girl That I Adore on, which was originally released in 2009, where we were signed to a French reggae label. We went over to Corsica, where the label was from, and played at like a reggae festival that they put on and what have you, headlined that. That was excellent, a nice experience. But they put out the first two albums, which is a vocal album and a dub album, and the first EP was The Girl That I Adore. Well, I see.
The Girl That I Adore from Hassle on Offbeat Reggae Radio. So I popped onto hassleonline.co.uk for a bit of digging before the show. Now, you've most definitely been on the same bill as some greats. I wonder if you would be so kind as to share some of your influences with us and tell us how they shaped your music.
Right. Well, obviously, you know, you got to start with Bob Marley. He obviously, like, you know, is one of the first sort of reggae acts you hear when you... I mean, I was growing up in the 80s, you'd hear quite a few, to be honest. UK reggae acts and... world Jamaican acts and stuff, you know, all the obvious classic songs that everyone probably grew up with, Desmond Decker and all that sort of stuff. They're the ones you kind of first hear, and it sort of jumps out to you as being completely different to anything else that you've heard before, you know. So, but anyway, Bob Marley, not all of his stuff, the early stuff he did. Chris Blackwell, he managed him, didn't he? And he broke him in England. But the two albums he did originally before that, which I don't think were released here, were produced by Lee Scratch Perry, who I'll come back to later. So I loved them albums, and then the first album he did with Chris Blackwell, which was Concrete Jungle, Catch a Fire is the album, but it had Concrete Jungle and Stir It Up and all those songs on. So I absolutely love that album and a couple of ones after, but then started getting a bit like sort of softer and everything. Obviously Exodus, you know, that type of stuff. But it was just his lyrics and everything about him was so powerful. It really was. He's like a Martin Luther King or a blooming Malcolm X or a blooming, you know, that type of stature of person. I think he transcends music a bit like Muhammad Ali does in boxing, you know. He transcends sport. These people are very iconic, and obviously the things he did in his life, you know, the stuff with the political battles and everything, and getting Michael Manley and Edward Searle to hold hands at the concert and everything that he'd been shot at a few days before and did with one arm and everything. So you know, that type of power that he got across, you know, it's just like something else, really. You don't usually get that from your average pop star, do you?
I think he's one of the major artists as well who actually brought reggae music to the wider audience who may have avoided it for no good reason previously. Yeah,
that's right. But yeah, you're right. If Chris Blackwell hadn't kind of sort of watered it down a little bit, maybe we wouldn't have ever got to hear Bob Marley in England, because they had to make it accessible for the white British public of the time, you know. But sometimes that's how it has to be done, you know. Maybe if they come in with stuff that's far too heavy and rootsy, it would be too much, and, you know, people wouldn't have caught onto it. But anyway, however they did it, and it was very powerful, and like I say, he influenced a hell of a lot of people. So definitely the Bob Marley stuff. But then, like, there's guys like Augustus Pablo, who's I'm a big fan of. Obviously he plays melodica, and it's instrumental music, but it's again dead spiritual and uplifting, and just as the quality of the musicianship on all his recordings are just so good in the production and everything. He's a big influence as well. And then, like, probably the biggest one is Lee Scratch Perry.
The man, the legend.
Yeah, totally. The man, the myth, the legend. The man that everybody said, oh, he's crazy. That's how it always used to be. Lee Scratch Perry, he's mad, he's crazy. Yeah, he's 83 years of age and he's still touring and he's still releasing music. In fact, this year, he had his first ever number one at 83 years of age. Can you believe that? On the American Billboard Reggae Chart. It took him to be 83 before he finally achieved that. I don't know too many artists who are recording and touring all around the world at 83.
Well, he was touring all last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. So it was just, right at the back end of the last year. In fact, it was the week after we released our EP. He went in the album charts. I'm talking for Lee Scratch Perry. He went number one, so it was like, this guy's meant to be crazy, but he's clearly not. And if he wasn't a bit, eccentric, shall we say, he wouldn't have created reggae and dub. I know there's a lot of different versions on who did it and what have you, but I'm just going to go with the Lee Scratch Perry one because simply I like him. And I think it's true as well, actually, especially dub. And especially like the track that you'll be playing in a bit, People Funny Boy as the first official kind of reggae track, moving away from Rocksteady, But it's just his production and everything. I mean, he used to do some really crazy stuff. He had Black Art in the studio, and he used to bury microphones under the ground. He used to throw U-Ride and all sorts on the tapes, 2-inch tape or whatever they were using and everything, and just do some crazy stuff. But somehow he conjured up a better sound using 4 and 2 tracks than the big commercial labels were doing at the time, where they had possibly 8 to 16 track, but he was completely blowing them away on 2 and 4 track.
They get more people should pee on their own music. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, totally. That's the key to success, apparently. But when I was learning all this, I was just like, my God, this is amazing. And I'm talking about the tech, the recordings and how he went about it. Obviously a lot of this stuff's myth, whether it was true or not, blah blah. I think the burying the mics under the ground and stuff was because he would create kick drums with it. It sounds like a crazy thing to do, and people think, oh, he must be mad, but it's not. There's always like a truth behind the madness, which was, if you bury a microphone under the ground and put loads of soil on the top and then hit it, you get a really, really fat bass drum that you can't really get from any other way, So
makes sense.
It sounds crazy, but there's actual, theories behind these things, So all that sort of stuff really, really excited us and floated me boat. So I was really influenced by him and the albums he recorded at Black Ark and the musicians that performed on it. A lot of the ones were the ones who performed on the Augustus Pablo ones as well. And obviously, so Lee Scratch Perry without doubt is my favourite reggae artist.
Right, let's do it then. Let's get a track on. You mentioned it before. Why don't you introduce it now?
So Lee Scratch Perry, People Funny Boy.
People Funny Boy, 1968 classic. So the big news for you, Mr. Steve, is your recent iTunes chart success with the EP. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, that came about. There's a guy called Lewis Griffiths who's always been a fan of the band, or should I say a champion of the band. He's done various little things for us that have helped along the way. So doing articles on his magazine and this stuff, and there's some radio interviews and things. He's always been really, really helpful and positive. But anyway, basically what happened was he'd been putting some records out through their record label, Griffiths Records, because they'd acquired some tapes that had been unreleased before from like the 70s era, and it included stuff like Lee Scratch Perry, King Tubby, Jackie Mitto, including some other artists. But anyway, he had wanted to put our track out, Make Your Mouth Run Out, and I was obviously dead chuffed and excited at that in itself, But then he came up with the idea. He was like, look, we own the rights to King Tubby tracks, these unreleased versions. Would you like to do a dub version of it? Which is like, God, totally, of course I do.
Yes, please.
I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll peel myself off the floor. And then
just to clarify, this is the King Tubby that we know and love, who's worked with Augustus Pablo, Roy, Lee Perry, and more. This King Tubby.
Yes, that King Tubby. The King Tubby, like you say, that I grew up with and was influenced by musically, production-wise and, dubby-wise. It's just fantastic, really heavy dubs, clear mixes, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, when he asked that, I was like, it just seemed like a gift from the God. I thought I was dreaming. Couldn't believe it, What's the chances of me from Newcastle being asked to do a dub version of the original tapes?
Do you know how they found you?
Oh, they found us because they just found us, my music through the internet over the years, This is a record label who owned the rights to the King Tubby material. They asked us, this is Griffiths Records. They were putting out our track, Make Your Mouth Run, and then he had the idea, why don't you release that but also do a dub version of the King Tubby track, and then you can put it out together as an EP. So I was like thrilled, and obviously beavered away and did the dub mix, and then the two together were released as an EP called Hassel meets King Tubby, Make Your Mouth Run. So there's one track by King Tubby, remixed by us. I hate to use the word remix, dubbed is what I should say. And our track, Make Your Mouth Run. So that came out anyway on December the 6th.
And I'm sure it harmed your chart progress there.
Oh yeah, it totally hindered it. Like, all I'll say is, if his record hadn't been on the EP, I know for a fact it wouldn't be going to number one. But it was, and it was remixed by us. So it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you do. So obviously we were dead thrilled, and because it was just a win-win. It was like, oh yes, I'm going to get a chance to remix Dub King Tubby, and then it's going to be released together. It's just, you know, amazing end of the year last year, and it all happened so quick as well, really did. But anyway, that's what we did, and it got released on the 6th of December. For 2 weeks before that, it was in the top 10 pre-order chart for 2 weeks, and for, I think it was like 12 of the 14 days that it was able to pre-order, it was number one, you know, in the pre-order chart. I couldn't believe it. It was like seeing the other names behind it. It just made us laugh, you know. Anyway, it came out on 6th of December and went straight in at number one. Could not believe it.
Massive congratulations for
very much.
However you got there. It doesn't particularly matter.
Exactly. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. The music is just fantastic. Both tracks, may I add. But what we're going to do though is get on another song of yours this time round, okay. And I think it should be one that's quite relevant and important at this present time. Do you want to introduce?
Yeah. This is by Hassel, and this track's called Make Your Mouth Run.
Offbeat Reggae Radio with Make Your Mouth Run from Hassel. What's the plan now? This is the last thing that I want to talk about. Number one, under your belt at the back end of last year. What does 2020 hold for you? Yeah, well, basically it's going to be really, really busy, because the back of this, it's obviously created a certain amount of interest. It helped us push on. Basically, we've started rehearsing as a full band. We've got a new lineup, so we're busy rehearsing at the minute. Then obviously we'll be sorting out gigs ASAP and looking to play at festivals in the summer. Did I see that you're on the lookout for a keyboard player? Yeah,
that's exactly it. We're looking for a keyboard player in the northeast or Newcastle area, or willing to travel. So yeah, that's the thing, you know. It's not always easy getting reggae musicians in Newcastle, simply because, you know, it's Newcastle and there's a lot of indie bands and all the other stuff, but there's not so many reggae ones, unfortunately, but can't be helped. So yeah, we just need a keyboard player. But, you know, we'll be doing gigs anyway, acoustically or whatever, to fill in. There's no way we're just going to sit and wait. And obviously we're going to be re-releasing the first two albums that came out. One's a vocal album and one's a dub version of that album. So we're going to put them back out, so the whole sort of back catalogue's out. Live the Life You Love, it's called. And then we'll be releasing the vocal version of Make Your Mouth Run, because obviously the version that was out is a dub version. And then the new stuff, which I've already written, we're busy recording, so then we'll put the new music out. And yeah, so there's plenty to keep us busy, put it that way.
Absolutely. You're going to be very, very busy indeed. And is this your main focus, or is this kind of a side gig?
No, I'd say it's certainly been blooming main focus, but, you know, I do other stuff as well. But I'd like this to be the stuff that I do more of, if you know what I mean.
Most definitely.
So, you know,
you and me both, mate.
yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sure, like yourself, we always, like, you know, we'd love to be music being my sort of first love and first passion. You'd like it to be the way that you paid your bills and all the rest of it. Do have to work, do other things as well on top of this. But yeah, it keeps me stimulated and I love it. More importantly, I do it for the love. Things come along, it's obviously a bonus. And it's nice to have success with the last song, because it's just so hard to get listeners in the modern age. You know, there's so much music out there and what have you, and so much competition. So if this EP has helped get heard by people, which I know it has, you know, I see the stats and the streams, and it's just, oh God, it's what a turnaround. So then it gives you a chance, hopefully, to build and, you know, have an audience for the time and effort you put into writing music and releasing it. You know, you can create something, whether it's good or bad, but you need people to hear it, don't you? Same with your radio station. Anything you're trying to build up, you need an audience. So
absolutely,
things like this help along the way.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm promoting the show every single day, and I bet you're doing the same.
Got to be doing. Yeah. I'm in full PR mode now. Another thing I want to mention though is I mentioned the guy before, Lewis Griffiths. I've got to say a big shout out to him. He's a maverick, is Lewis. He keeps himself to himself. He's a lone wolf. A lot of people achieve certain things in life and shout it from the rooftops, and he just doesn't. He's honestly, he's had loads of success with books, records, and films coming out, and all sorts of stuff from the reggae and mod culture, you know, and ska as well. he has basically made all this happen, so I've got to publicly thank him, because without his help it wouldn't have happened, you know. So Lewis, thank you very much, son.
Yeah, thank you from all of us as well, because otherwise we might not hear the classic tracks
and also
that we
I
are.
wouldn't have heard about your show as well, which I've been checking out genuinely, and it's quality. Really
thank
good.
you.
I had a good listen to it before. Good stuff. I wish you all the best with that.
You heard me when my cold was in full force there.
Hopefully we'll be back on again, and you'll be playing my music, and I'll be chatting again in the future, because things have happened for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, anything that's noteworthy, that's worth shouting about, do let me know.
Well, we'll do, definitely. Well, you know that when the next releases and stuff like that come out, I'm sure I'll be harassing you, knocking on your door and knocking on your bedroom window. Please play my music.
Steve from the band Hassle, thank you so much for talking to me today.
And thanks for your time as well. Appreciate you having me on the show.